And we are back. Welcome to another edition of the Sports War. And we are back. We got the full crew in the house. That is what it's all about. The Yankees, out of any team in the league, are the best equipped to handle a blow like this.
I think there is a higher power at play here. He's due law of averages. That dude is the ultimate scrub. It's trash. Yeah. Every person you have in there is fucking trash.
Next game, you're going to see a big performance. You can see it in the end of the game, and I'm just totally stoked and excited for this.
And we are back. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Report here on a Monday. It's Barnes, it's Tony, and it's a chance for the Mets here, win 1 out of 2 to clinch their ticket into the postseason. How are you feeling, sir?
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, I mean, it's 50-50 shot really at this point, I guess, getting 1 out of 2 here. So I don't know. It sucks that I have to come down to this because, again, you know, you want to look at forward. If they do make the wild card, what it looks like tomorrow, whatever. But hey, I mean, you want to be hopeful for game 1. I mean, let's go. There's some interesting statistics, Brian, surrounding some of the players that are starting today that could bode well for us. But also there's some that maybe not so good for us. But
I mean, what I just think, I know you're trying to downplay it, but the prearranged agreement, you know, with both teams needing 1 win in the doubleheader and not wanting to, you know, burn bullpens out before the wild card series starts tomorrow. I just don't see how it goes any other way.
Yeah, I guess so. I suppose. I don't know about that though. That sounds like kind of shady.
No, I mean, listen, everybody, you know, the guys are out there, they're going to try, but at the same time, you win game 1. I mean, you're like limiting who you're using in game 2. There's no way you're not. I mean, obviously you could have guys step up that don't normally play. They're out to play, like, you know, but.
So you're telling me that the Braves and the Mets are on like the same page and it's like, oh, at game 1, like, why not?
I don't even think they need to be on the same page. So, I mean, just think about it, because somebody's going to Milwaukee, somebody's going to San Diego. Like, why would they go all out second game? Like, use, like, you know, let's say it's a blowout first game, and the second game, like, they're really gonna like use like top bullpen pieces and like start all of their starters to win that second game when it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, no, I totally agree there. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you still need these players to perform. I mean, I think like second game, if the Braves won the first game and Acuna is up or whatever, or if anyone's up, I mean, they're gonna try. They're not gonna be just like staring at the ball down the strike zone. And
I'm saying like they're going to use like low end bullpen. I mean, that's really what comes out. Bullpen, and then however many starters they can rest. You bet they're going to be rested.
I mean that would be the strategy for game 2. But I mean, like, you still got to win. I mean, you just if you're a Met, I mean, you want to win game 1. I mean, you want to be that team that's resting everyone in the second game for sure. But I mean, again, you got to do it. I mean, it's not great. You know, it's not like the best scenario we could be in right now.
But I feel like, you know, Dave is, you know, very realistic with things. And if he's not worried, I just don't get why you're worried. Especially after, you know, your confidence percentage, you know.
Well, honestly, I mean, in terms of Dave's thoughts, I was kind of surprised, to be honest, how confident he is. He said he's very confident in getting a win today, which is, I guess, good. I mean, again, odds are the way the Mets have been playing that they're going to split a doubleheader. Like, that's just, you know, the way they've been playing since July. But still, it's not a great feeling. I mean, you know, you didn't do great by any means against Milwaukee on the weekend, and then that first game against the Braves was kind of a washout as well. So it's like, you know, I mean, there's definitely some negative thoughts in my head, and then on top of that, it's just the fact that I was saying before the show too. Like, I just can't 1 and 3 o'clock. It'd be tough games to really, you know, put my eye on. You know,
well, because they really haven't. No, but the second one, there probably isn't a start time for the second one, right?
Oh, it says 3 o'clock or 3:10, but it's half hour after the first game, right? Is that how it normally is?
The first game is at 1. How could it be at 3? They're expecting a 2-hour game, and then that's not.
I guess
it's not going to be 2 hours.
No, probably not. It'd probably be more like a 4 o'clock start. I would imagine,
unless the agreement.
You're so on this agreement, huh? I mean, I don't know, man.
But where's the motivation for whoever wins the first game to like do anything in the second? No.
No. I mean, I agree. Where like, yeah, the second game, that team is who won the first game. They're not going to try as hard and rest these guys. But at the end of the day, like you're still. Let's say you do put in bullpen guys you're never going to use in the postseason. They're still going to want to come out here and pitch well, you know?
Right, but just how about this? Like, how about the Mets? Let's just say hypothetically they blow it the first game. Oh, by the way, it has the second game scheduled for 4:40.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, Chris Sale is not going to start the second game.
No way.
So, I mean, like they're going to have a bullpen game or like have, whoever is like
right.
the last pitcher.
They'll probably have a bullpen starter, whatever. But you still
really think it's gonna be like, oh, the Mets
and hit the ball.
You could see the Mets losing the first game.
They had two fucking hits on Saturday,
and then having 2 hits in the second game. You could really see that happening.
Could I see it happening? I mean, yeah, it could happen. Sure, dude.
Wow.
Until they win that first game, which again, I mean, you want to look at Tyler McGill. His last 5 starts have been great. Like I think sub-2 ERA, whatever. But it's just like nah, and I think they're all wins as well. His last 5 starts were all Met wins. Which is great. But again, I mean, I don't know. Him in a big spot, you're kind of still nervous about it.
Yeah. I'm almost surprised they didn't lead with Sevy.
They want to try and save him, I guess, for the Wildcard series.
Okay.
They did. I believe, though, if they lose game 1, he's starting game 2.
Right. No, that's
what it says. Yeah. And then, Schwellenbach is in there for the Braves. And I mean, he started twice against the Mets this year. I think like 14 1/3 innings over those 2 starts, 15 Ks, 0 earned runs. So,
but are you still at 66 or not?
I said 50-50 now at this point.
Okay, it's 50-50. Wow. But I mean, you never have, I guess you could say drop below the Mendoza line with that. You've always been at least half or better, Tony, all season,
dude.
right?
That's correct, dude.
I know you hate this type of thing, but it's like, if at the beginning of the year,
no,
scenario, you would have taken it. You would have.
Thinking what though?
Thinking that you have to win 1 out of 2 games. When like the other team, if you lose the first game, is going to try the second. You would have taken it. Like there's no way you wouldn't have.
I guess so, but I mean, we could have just done better against Milwaukee, and I could have been just like hanging out today a little bit.
Oh man. But hey, I mean, it's going to be interesting, and like I said, that's my prediction. I think it's prearranged, and there's no way it's going to go any differently. Now should should like a sweep happen here for either team? I will be shocked, honestly. Either team, I would be very surprised.
No, I would be too.
So let's see what happens. We'll talk more about that in a sec. But let's start with Josh B here.
Well, sort of Josh B. Top of the comments here. Oh, yeah. There we go. Josh B. announces, "What up, fam? Brutal game for the Jets. Was worse than the game against the Pats last year we were at. Oof," he says. Hashtag TC, hashtag Sportsport, hashtag DTV. I think it was too. Do you think so? Worse than the Pats game?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I guess just because
you were at that game. Imagine you were at this game though. Like this was definitely worse.
Like I like all I'm gonna say is I guess just because Zach Wilson was starting that game, playing in that game. So it's like you have Aaron Rodgers and you hold the Broncos to 10 points. And I understand the conditions.
I don't want to hear
everything. The penalties were out of control.
Literally,
we'll get to anyway. Yeah, it probably was. Doesn't mean that you can't come back from it, but it's just definitely one of those that stings, and it's I would say it's how you would feel waking up after your baseball team is up, I don't know, 3 runs going into the 9th and loses it. Like that type of feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of that type of feeling, Matthew Gabriel says, "Let's go," and then he says, "The Jets blew it, dude."
There he is.
And they really did. We were watching the game here yesterday.
Got the call after you sounded.
Oh, that's right.
Honestly, it sounded like you were, like it bothered you the most, the loss, honestly.
Well, it was just like annoying, dude. And again, I was like, at that point, the Mets were still playing. So I was like, geez, like they got to fucking win Sunday, which they did. Thank God they won yesterday. But yeah, and again, I mean, that game also, like that game was not only was it like obviously tough loss for the Jets, but it was an absolute fucking snooze fest, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously low scoring, and I feel like there was fucking commercials every 2 minutes.
15 penalties, 13 accepted.
Unbelievable, dude.
And then Tyron Smith. I mean, $20 million a year, multiple false start penalties.
Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, guys lining up off sides. Like, come on.
Yeah, no, that was
like it really is embarrassing, dude.
Yeah, and then Brees Hall. I mean, Ungatz with the running game. Braylon Allen looks like the better back right now.
He is. I mean, he certainly is the better back. Nathan Green also feeling it. The Jets game was terrible. Next week is going to be tough. Overseas, the early start.
It is, but I have to say, and again, we're jumping all over the place here, but like what we saw last night, Sunday Night Football, kind of could see that kind of situation happening. Like the Bills coming in, undefeated team. Oh my God. Like, wow, they're one of the best teams in the league. And then smacked in the mouth. Could potentially
I could see that too.
I think the Jets will be fired up.
Do you know what day they get in? They fly in? No idea.
I wouldn't be surprised if like they already left.
Oh, yeah?
Or maybe they leave tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah. All right, that's
but
good.
just for a practice schedule, and you'd think they'd want to, get acclimated.
Yeah, of course. All right, speaking of getting acclimated here, Matthew Ryan, Jets blew it, he says. And he says, Mets will blow it. Let's go Braves, he says. Braves for the sweep. I think Mets will get swept, and I will laugh. Let's go Braves. Braves will sweep. Tony owes me steak dinner. They should not be playing these games. Mets don't own the tiebreaker. And then Josh P says they shouldn't play these games. Just stop. And then Michael Buckton in the house. He's the Bama-Georgia game. Saw it Saturday.
Yeah,
Crazy stuff, dude.
saw it. I saw it when Bama was up 21-0, and then I didn't even realize. I saw they won. Oh, okay, they must have came back a little bit. I didn't realize they lost the lead and all this stuff. Kind of crazy, but surprising win.
Yeah, I would say we watched the horse. Two people were going crazy. It was packed, and then Bama scores back right away after Georgia took the lead, and they ended up losing. Well, Bama ended up winning. So pretty crazy, dude. And here's a great question, Barnes, for you. Have you ever worn a bucket hat in California? And did you have a beer on the beach there for me when you were there in August?
So we could say 1 out of 2.
Really?
The beers were at dinner, not on the beach. But the
bucket hat, dude.
The bucket hat.
Bucket hat plays, baby.
Bucket hat in the shades, baby.
And then Matthew Ryan says at Josh B, if I were a D-backs fan, I'd be so mad about these games. But I mean, like, what are you talking about? They have to, see Josh B, how they have to play once it's 2, they have not, and it's that's simple. It's like they have to play these games, Matthew. Like there's not, it shouldn't, then it should, it's not just one playoff game. It's 2 makeup games from the regular season. Like
we talked about it. I mean, it should have been the doubleheader Monday, the early game on Tuesday last week.
Yeah, like there's no
everything's
other.
Set.
You can't just like change the way the rules are because you don't like the Mets, Matthew. Like that's not how that works.
Yeah.
And then also Nathan Green says he's still hopeful for the Jets. I still see the wild card position as of right now. I do too. I mean, I feel like the division is kind of like Bills lost. So Eagles are looking like trash.
No blood.
Or not Eagles.
Dolphins
looking like trash, even though they kind of snuck out a win. But still, they're long season of the term. I mean, they're not going to be any. I don't think they'll be that.
No, I mean,
there's no way.
I mean, we'll talk about it, but they might lose to the Titans today.
Yeah. And then Michael Buckton, Chris Fowler.
With the shades and the hat backwards when he's there.
Yeah.
I
can't right now,
Malibu.
Dude.
Sometimes it's like with Michael Buckton, it's like in one ear, out the other,
Do you think that, I mean, like, we're reaching
Zuma Beach, by the way, Zuma Beach.
We're reaching, this point in the fall, getting colder. It's been overcast and rainy. Are you like, you wish you were in California right now?
No, because it's Yankees postseason about to start.
October, yeah.
Yeah. So after that would be the ideal scenario. I'm just trying to think. So I would say, because we want to go spring training down in Florida or and then be in California. So I would say ideal would be Connecticut from March 20th till day after Thanksgiving. I mean, and then Florida, California.
Wow. Yeah,
pretty dope, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially just because it's annoying. Golf season is coming to an end. I was actually kind of riled. So I was playing Gainer with Ree on Saturday, and got off to a really good start. But just always those couple little dumb things, like on number 9, the easy par 3, somehow, like it's literally the whole hole itself is like 120 yards. I hit it into the pond like 30 feet in front of me. I don't know, like hit it just high, but just couldn't hit it 40 yards over the pond. Whatever. Double bogey there. Then have a couple good holes. But then on number 11, get like a 7, par the next hole. But then for whatever reason, lose 2 balls on number 13, get an 8,
Oh.
So lose 4 strokes to him in on our like stroke thing.
Uh-huh.
And then the next hole hit one right into the pond off the tee. So I'm thinking, this is the collapse.
Yeah,
it's over. And then last 4 holes, beat him by 2, beat him by 1, and then we both parred the last 2 holes. So I ended up covering by 1. And it was crazy too. So the scenario on 17, you know that like short par 3 before you get to number 18 there on Gainer. So it feels great shot, 8 iron. It says, it's 160 to the cup, and I absolutely rip it. It feels so good, but I lose it. Like, where did it land? Lands just on the top of the hill before the car back. I hit the car back with a roundabout, so it sticks there. Chip it within 10 feet, make the putt after Riley almost chips it in, hits off the stick, and then lands like an inch away. So we both par it there. Tee shot in 18. He hits a perfect shot. I just like rope one to the left, blocked out, can't even get on in 2, have to chip onto the fairway, but then just stick it within 7 feet, make the putt for par.
That's
and then
sick,
cover
dude.
by 1. So it was nice because usually like when that collapse starts, like you don't like recover. But then I'm just thinking, what am I doing here? But it's nice. The driver is back in play.
Let's go, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love that.
Kind of shortened up the swing a little bit. Just make sure the club face comes through.
Yeah.
So yeah, had a couple of pipes. So it was nice to cover there.
That's awesome, dude. Nothing like a drive off the tee, dude.
Yeah, and dude, the putting, honestly, it's crazy. I never would have thought, because like growing up, I would always just hammer it by the hole.
Yeah.
Especially a Gainer. I don't know. I just have like a sense for like the speed and I feel like too. My problem was I was always playing too much break. Like just break. But it's usually not way out, just a little bit type of thing. So
that's fucking awesome. Now, when you do get off to a good round, like you got a few holes on your belt, you're like feeling really good, couple pars, whatever. Do you think in your head at all, like, oh, this is not going to be sustainable? Like, there's going to be a hole where, like, are you preparing for that hole where you're like kind of clunking it? Or
just like I would think most people would think that I just get the thought of, wow, this could be the round. You know what I mean? And like, on the front too, it was annoying. Like par for a 42, double bogey 9 instead. So 45. So that was definitely annoying. But hey, or 44, whatever. But end of the day, was happy with it. And hey, we still got some golf season left. So
yeah, dude.
See what happens.
I mean, that's dope. I'm glad that you got out this weekend.
What do we have anything else here before we to move on?
We got Buckta and the beaches. Oh, wait, actually, Josh B at Matthew Ryan. What are you doing for the Jets game next weekend? Which is this weekend.
What do you think he's gonna say?
Matthew Ryan?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's gonna be in London.
He's probably gonna be like getting his bank account ready for the steak dinner that he'll owe me. Okay. But yeah, I don't know. Probably, I don't know, 9 a.m. early start. Probably gonna sleep through it, to be honest.
Yeah, I could see that.
Party hard the night before, missed the game. Classic.
But what do you think? Like, I kind of like it is kind of sick though, having like the 9:30 slots, and then it's like literally like every hour of the day is covered football.
I mean, yeah, no, it is really dope, and I love how it's like it's just a one game 2 at 9, so you can wake up, focus, watch it, regardless if you're the fan of the team or not. Like, there's football when you wake up, which is kind of sick, and then again, if you have your day, like if you're sitting at one location for football the whole day, it's just like a marathon of food and drinking. Like, it's not. Like, it doesn't stop until it's 12 hours. You put in 12-hour shift in.
We might have to pivot to the 12-hour shift. That's
yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah.
Get Jeff over here.
That's probably not going to happen.
I'm sure he would love to be over here, though.
Oh, yeah, dude. Definitely. 9 a.m. come here. Yeah. Absolutely, dude. After the strikeout this weekend, he worked all Friday, Saturday, Sunday, dude.
Wow. That's a big one.
Yesterday, he was a little slow,
It happens, right?
Yeah. But hey.
But I think that's a good time. Tony, if we could go to the world of the National Football League.
He wants Jefferson, climbs the ladder. Oh my goodness! Justin Jefferson, the catch of his life.
Burrow fires, intercepted, picked off at a pick 6. Minka Fitzpatrick, an absolute ball hawk.
Niners twist up front and get to Tagovailoa. Bosa again. Mahomes escaping on the move, stops, spins, flips it forward for the touchdown.
Stop it.
Aaron Jones. Oh, what a tackle. Quincy Williams with a pile driver.
right. So a big day in the National Football League yesterday. Let's just start ripping the Band-Aid off. I guess you could say the Jets, who led 6-0 at MetLife Stadium against the Broncos at half. End up losing after the Broncos strike on a third quarter touchdown, 10-9.
That's just beat.
Had a chance at the end. Zerloin from 50, winds swirling, and the Jets don't get the job done. Just felt like an embarrassing loss. A Broncos team, that started 0-2, got off the schneid last week, and really didn't do much throwing the ball in this game. Only 60 yards passing. But were able to run at will against this Jet defense, averaging 4.1 yards per carry, 126 yards. And that really, was the difference in the game, and the fact that the Jets couldn't get to Nix. He dropped back 25 times, no sacks, no picks against, a rookie quarterback who had struggled. Rodgers was sacked 5 times, legs ailing after the game. And, I think Rick was questioning this, talking to Rex this morning on DNR, just about like getting your best players involved. And you didn't really mention Brees other than that he didn't look good. 10 carries for only 4 yards and dropping a key pass too, where he was wide open. You couple that with Garrett Wilson, only 5 catches, 41 yards. And, he kind of was alluding to, he doesn't think Hackett is doing enough to, make sure that he gets the ball, and kind of comparing what the Giants do with Malik Neighbors. So you understand, those frustrations, and, was just kind of interesting. I understand, the rain was tough, but the offensive line of the Jets just did not do a good job. And that's what happens when you only average 2.8 yards a carry, and Rodgers gets sacked 5 times. And all the penalties, 15 penalties, 13 accepted. Tyron Smith with the multiple false starts. I mean, it was a mess at MetLife Stadium yesterday.
Yeah, dude. It was really embarrassing on multiple facets. I mean, you mentioned, again, you can talk about the lack of offense and whatever. Because, I mean, that I would definitely blame more, but the defense not getting the Bo Nix. I understand it didn't drop back a ton of times, I guess. But 25 times drop back. Anyway, you can't get one sack, dude. It's not like he's that elusive or interception. I mean, this guy cannot throw downfield, and again, I mean, he didn't do that much. Again, maybe that one drive at the end of the game, which ended up in a score. Like, yeah, that was kind of one of those where it's like, dude, like this guy should not be just like running his own 2-minute drill on the Jets defense right now. Like, that should not be happening. And then from the very start of the game, the first series ended in a fumble, right? They fumbled it.
Yeah.
I understand the weather, the weather that. It was rainy. It was windy. You gotta were you not practicing in like similar conditions all week? I mean, it was raining in New York during the week. It was cold. It was overcast, whatever. Like, you should have been more than enough ready. And it's like, this is fucking football, dude. And you have a quarterback who's played in all types of situations specifically for weather. I mean, he's played in snow games, rain games, like night, whatever, dude. Like, he should have more than enough experience in games like this to kind of settle everyone down and get back to the fundamentals of what they can play and they can execute. And they weren't doing that. Speaking of the fundamentals, the penalties, dude, like,
embarrassing.
So dumb. Like, literally killed any momentum you had. The false starts, line up in the neutral zone. Lazard's fucking unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, I thought was kind of bullshit. But I guess you can spin the ball in the face of someone. But like, dude, that was kind of nonsense. But again, 15-yard penalty, bang, like killers, dude. Like absolute killers. You know, and it's little shit like that. It's like, are we not, Pat? Like, it was week 1 was like you couldn't get your the play clock, delay of games, off, like false starts, like that thing. That was week 1, dude. You know, like you couldn't fax that out until like, and you're still having problems with that. Like, how does that work, dude? That's totally unacceptable. And it falls on, I would say, Rodgers and Saleh, right? I mean, that's it's got to be the leaders of the team. You can't be doing stupid shit like that. Brutal, dude. And even. I forget what was the offensive lineman that went false start when we were doing like 4th and 1 in the red zone.
It wasn't Smith.
It was. I think it was.
I know Simpson had a false start as well.
But I forget. It could have been Simpson. But regardless, I mean, you're talking 4th and 1 going for a touchdown, and then all of a sudden you got to go for the field goal.
Yeah, and another field goal and another field goal.
Like that is a game-changing moment, dude. Like
yeah,
you lost this game by a fucking point. All right.
yeah.
And I mean, the only one I could really give, I guess, maybe like a pass to, I guess, is Zerloin. But I mean, like,
Got to play the draw. Veteran kicker. You know, he's seen it all before, right?
yeah, at the end of the day, you still are a veteran kicker. And I mean, I understand how tough it is to kick a 50-yarder in the rain with wind. But I guess you expect more from Greg, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't from 60.
It wasn't from 60. It's still a hard field goal.
But at the same time, it's not 60. You can make it.
It's
yarder.
it's definitely makeable, dude.
I mean, if Kuz drilling it from 58, you know, Zerline from 50 should be automatic. Wind, rain, or not.
Oh my god! But it still shouldn't even come down to that
No, it
field
shouldn't have.
goal.
It shouldn't
Like,
have,
it
but
really shouldn't have, dude.
I think the biggest thing is the penalties, but then also just protection wise. I mean, Rodgers was
got sacked 5 times, right?
Yeah, and it just some of the throws didn't look good, but I think again, you know, he just wasn't getting the protection.
Yeah. There was like 2 throws that were not good from
Yeah.
him that I could remember specifically, and I think even a minute after the game, those are on him. But
Looked like ducks.
But but again, literally, like just like obviously the ball's wet, you couldn't handle. But again, like that's like you've done this before. Like you should be able to like factor in rain, okay?
Yeah.
And it's like you knew that again. The preparation during the week. Are we not preparing? We know the forecast,
right.
so it's kind of weird there. And then the play call again in the red zone. What was it? Back-to-back runs from Breece Hall went nowhere.
Yeah.
Why aren't you running Allen instead?
Right.
Like he was the guy all game who was kind of like plowing through players, like breaking tackles, getting some significant yardage in the run game here. And for some reason, in the red zone, you want to go to Breece Hall. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
No, it really doesn't make any sense. And in Matthew echoing those sentiments, saying Jets looked like absolute shite. I think Rodgers hates Salah. LOL.
I'd be very interested to see the dynamic between them two. Because what was it 2 weeks ago with the weird push thing?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It sounded kind of weird. And then the way they played it off after the game, too, in the post-game conference was also kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't really buying it. Like it's a fucking raccoon in the dugout.
Yeah, I don't think he likes Salah. Like, definitely doesn't love Salah. I think it's just one of those things where he can get past it because he feels like he runs the team himself and they're going to do everything he wants. But it's just a whole circus.
Like, what is that, dude?
Yeah.
Like, what does that even mean?
It was kind of interesting. I don't know too if it was like a me Mets thing with Dave and the Jets, but like because Rex was saying like, oh yeah, I absolutely expect them to go to London, win that football game. They're just a good football team. They're gonna bounce back. And he's like, wow, like I just feel like you're way too confident, like all this shit. Like
Dave's saying that.
What makes you think that?
Yeah.
Like you said, literally just because they're a good team is basically why he said that. But
I mean, I don't know, dude. I mean, yes, they are. I guess you could say good, but I mean, at the end of the day, dude, how do you not score a touchdown?
Yeah. So what would you say for you, level of concern, 1 to 10, Jets moving forward?
Jets moving forward, like in terms of like making the playoffs sort of deal, or just in general
everything.
as a team?
I mean, that is mandatory, obviously.
Yeah, dude. I mean, there's a lot of concerns here. I guess the main concern would be those stupid mistakes, those penalties.
Yeah.
Because I do think, again, I guess you could say, the weather, whatever. But those stupid mistakes, those stupid penalties, again, you want to think about it down the season, close games, it's the penalties that really kill you. You can look back on the drop passes, the poor passes, as well. You can say it's a factor of the weather, whatever. So I don't know. I think that'd be the biggest concern. But also, like, Rodgers' health is probably also up there as well. I mean, first of all, like, limping after that one of the last sacks he took. And it's just like, well, that's not good. And the replay, you see the knee buckles a little bit. I don't know, like, what it could be. Obviously, he comes back on the field, looks fine, I guess, but still, like, he's handling it. But then, like, after the play, he's, like, limping off the field. So it's okay. Like, clearly he's in pain.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's the protection going to look like, against better fucking rushing defenses?
Yeah. But I guess Rex was saying, he's just such a Jet fanboy. We talked about how it's weird that he says we with the Jets and all that stuff.
He's
but
weird, dude.
But of course he's weird. But he was saying that Minnesota's defense likes to just kind of sit back in zone coverage, doesn't really rush the passer that much. So he's like, yeah, just scheme it up. Just scheme it up.
If I was Minnesota and I'm like, oh, Rodgers is like not like 100%, I'm like, let's rush 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Like all game.
But
like,
then
why would you not?
You have to pivot to the screen game if that's going to happen.
Right. Which is fine.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, again, that's just me, Minnesota. I would definitely rush again. Just even watching this game, like tape from this game, I would be definitely rushing pretty heavily.
So we'll have to see what happens. And speaking of Minnesota, now 4-0 after defeating the Packers at Lambeau 31-29, jumped out to a 28-0 lead, outscored 22-3 in the second half. But at the end of the day, they are victorious here. Sam Darnold, another vintage performance, 20 of 28, 275, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, was only sacked twice. And Justin Jefferson leading the way, 6 catches, 85 yards, and a score. Jordan Addison, 3 catches, 72 yards, and a touchdown.
Very good.
And on the other side of things here, Green Bay, obviously the poor start. Love's first game back after missing a couple games with that high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
Threw for 389, 4 touchdowns. Did have a Brett Favre-like 3 picks. And he was the first Packer quarterback to have 4 touchdowns and 3 picks since Favre. And Jaden Reed led the way in receiving, 7 for 139 in the score. Wicks had 5 for 78 and 2 touchdowns. Kraft also caught a touchdown. And then Christian Watson might be out for the year after injuring his leg in this one. So, comeback comes up short for Green Bay. Minnesota hangs on, and Aaron Jones, while he doesn't get to do a Lambeau leap, had 139 total yards from scrimmage yesterday. So a nice job for him in his return to Lambeau. But what do you think here? I mean, the Vikings, I know they tapered off second half here, but I mean, is it time to say? I mean, I think Dave was even saying this morning he thinks they're one of the 3 best teams in the National Football League. I mean, what do you think here?
I mean, it's kind of hard to, I guess, argue against it. Their record, they're 4-0 right now, and they're looking like a team that has all the momentum in their favor. So it's hard to argue that. I will say, I think you guys are having some headphone problems.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, I'm okay. It's okay though, but
is it just like in and out, one ear?
I think it's almost just kaput.
Really? Like you didn't hear anything?
Like in like occasionally you wiggle it, it comes back, then it goes.
Okay. I'll have to check it out after the show, I guess. But
the XLR,
the XLR cable, dude, faxing
right
it
now,
out.
Perfect. But then,
what are you touching?
Just this connection,
the adapter. Yeah,
but like when I have it like this, it's like I guess maybe it's faint in one ear.
Yeah,
very faint. Yeah.
All right. Well, Sam Darnold. I mean, listen, you can't really knock him. 20 of 28, 275 through the air, 3 touchdowns. Had the 1 pick. And in terms of the comeback, I mean, Packers, I think, are a great team, no doubt.
Yeah.
Obviously, you love coming back from injury. That's obviously a factor. And I do think, you watch this, after the first half, the Vikings seem like they did kind of think like, oh, like
we got
this is in the bag, and you kind of see them maybe let up a little bit, go to the run game a few more times. Aaron Jones, speaking of the run game,
healthy.
It looks great.
Not healthy
dude.
last year, but he's healthy this year.
So you love to see that for him, for Minnesota as well. So yeah, dude, they're certainly a dual threat team. Defense pretty solid, I guess. Did sack Love once, and then of course the picks. So I mean, clear their secondary, like you were saying. I mean, I guess they do like to maybe hang back, look for those picks and stuff like that. So it should be interesting again to see what the Vikings do moving forward. But like you said, like Dave said, I mean, they are one of the best teams in the league right now, and it doesn't seem like they're stopping, really.
No, it certainly doesn't. We had an exciting game at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome as the Falcons 26-24, don't score an offensive touchdown in this one, but win by 2. Coup for the win from 58 yards. So the Falcons are 2-2. The Saints are 2-2 after losing their last 2 games. They got off to a hot start. 2 Taysom Hill rushing touchdowns in the first half. Did not return after halftime with an abdominal injury. And then Derek Carr, 239, no touchdowns, 1 pick, was only sacked once. Kamara led the way for rushing for the Saints with 77 yards, also had a rushing touchdown. But at the end of the day, kind of an interesting, game here. You had Shaheed fumbling the punt return, gifting, the Falcons a touchdown there. So it wasn't pretty, but the Falcons, getting the job done. I mean, what did you make of this one? I mean, kind of a humbling moment for the Saints after getting off to such a hot start and losing another game here.
Yeah, dude, that is tough, honestly. I guess you could say humbling. I mean, Derek Carr didn't do terrible, I guess.
But
wasn't great. No. I mean, the one interception, no throwing touchdowns, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, how much are you going to rely on your run game, throughout the year to try and score? I mean, Kamara can do only so much. Taysom Hill get in there, a few short runs.
Injured once again.
Which is like, what the hell is that? I feel that's the story of his entire career, dude.
Plays with reckless abandon like Anthony Richardson, who got injured again yesterday.
But like, I don't know. I feel like Taysom Hill, though, like, he doesn't get a lot of like reps, though.
No. But when he's in, he's full bore, like just like
right.
a caged animal out there.
But it's like, stay healthy. I don't know. He pisses me off, honestly. Anyway, they just need to figure it out through the air. I think Derek Carr in the red zone, if he is able to score through the air from the red zone, like it does obviously change the Saints team here. And I think the outcome of this game. But I guess, I don't know. Cousins is, I feel like, in the same board. To me, even though it's a close game, I don't know. Both these teams, I don't think are really going to be like playoff. I wouldn't say contenders, but they're not going to be making splashes in the playoffs, I don't think.
But is there a clear separation, or do you think the
between these two teams?
Between these two is like the difference in the score where it's just
literally
very close.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say I would favor the Falcons. I think Cousins better quarterback than Derek Carr, and Raheem Morris probably better coach. As well.
Yeah, I would agree with that, definitely.
Over Dennis Allen.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I suppose.
And I feel like too, once again, we kind of saw this last year. I don't think their offense has really gotten going yet, especially Bijan. Only 28 yards on the ground. Algier had more carries and yards. So I think they're going to get going more with him. Kyle Pitts didn't even have a catch in this one. Cousins didn't throw a touchdown. They didn't have any offensive touchdowns. So I think they're going to continue to grow. And obviously, I mean, what a clutch kick from Koo. That was a career-long 58 yards for the Falcons. So
I think you called that one, didn't you?
I think I did.
Yeah, I think you did too.
Yeah, but not from 58.
No.
Probably 50 or 48,
something like
that. And I don't know. I think the Falcons have a shot. I mean, they get the Bucs at home next week, and then they're at the Panthers, home to Seattle, and then at the Bucs, and home to the Cowboys. So some competitive games coming up, but I think games that they have, a chance in. And we've seen them win 2 games late here at the last second with Kirk Cousins. So, I think there's a lot to like. I think their defense is as good as it's been in a long time. And I think that's important. And I think the offense will continue to get better. The Saints go to Arrowhead next week for Monday Night Football. That I think is going to be tough. And, I think moving forward, I definitely favor the Falcons over the Saints here.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, at least, again, you want to look at the Saints even past next week at Arrowhead. I mean, they're going to be playing the Bucs after that, which is going to be tough, So again, starting the year off 2-0, you could be looking at a 2-4 record at that point.
Quick turnaround against the Broncos. We saw what happened, with the Jets. Obviously, this different being indoors, but still. And then at the Chargers, who lost a tight one yesterday. So going to be very interesting. I think, the NFC South in general, will be highly competitive. Another close game yesterday saw the Bears pick up their second win of the season, sending the Rams to 1-3. The Bears winning 24-18. And I think the difference in this game was how effectively the Bears were able to run the football. So they didn't have to have Caleb Williams drop back 50 times like he did the week before. DeAndre Swift with his best game of the season by far, 93 yards and a score. Bears ran for 131 yards. Caleb had the 1 touchdown, and Swift, also had 7 catches for 72 yards out of the backfield. Safford was sacked 3 times, threw a pick. And that pick was late in the game. It kind of was the difference here. So the Rams tried to come back, but ultimately falling short, despite Williams running the ball effectively, 94 yards and a score. You got the injuries, and I'm sure at some point, they'll get back Nakua and Cup. But I mean, at 1-3, I think it's over. Definitely.
Yeah, no, it is. And I guess it's kind of a shame, I suppose, but I don't know. I was never really sold that much on the Rams. And then, I mean, like you said, the injuries is just absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, your two best receivers are out. So it's like, you're not getting much effectiveness through the air. And honestly, I don't know if it's because of that, but Stafford, I mean, doesn't look that great either. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's everything in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think it's like Stafford kind of on the lull, or it's like his targets aren't there?
If those
so
guys
it's like,
are there, this is a pretty good football team, honestly.
Yeah.
And then you can't forget too, you have the offseason retirement of Aaron Donald. I mean, he was the anchor of this defense. So you couple that with him having to throw to Tutu Atwell and Jordan Whittington as his top two receivers yesterday, just shows the magnitude of how many guys that they're down. What are your thoughts on the Bears? I mean, their defenses look pretty good through these first 4 games. They get the running game going yesterday, and it seems like, they don't ask Williams to do too much. That's probably when they're going to have, the most success.
Excuse me. Sorry. Yeah, I think so too. Again, Williams, obviously, we know his deal. Adjustment to the NFL is probably still in play here. You are lucky that you do have DeAndre Swift, I think, in the backfield for him. And like you said, defense solid with the 3 sacks, the interceptions. Yeah. So they definitely had pressure on the Rams all game. I mean, it's good for the Bears, but it's just like, I think for this team to move forward, you need Caleb Williams to be able to drop back and send the ball through the air, which I feel like we have remained to be seen.
But it seems like there may be ample opportunity for that coming up. Panthers at home next week. And then Jacksonville in London.
Shambles.
Obviously they're in shambles at 0-4. And then at Commanders, which, might be tricky. We saw them dominate the Cardinals, which you get to. Speaking of the Cardinals, then they're at the Cardinals the following week before returning home for the Patriots, Packers, and Vikings. Then they have to play the Lions and the 49ers. So very, in terms of, competition, up and down type of schedule. But I think this defense is good. They've only allowed 24 points or less in each of their first 4 games.
Nice.
And it's possibility of a couple wins, coming up. I think the key is just going to be Williams developing rapport, with his receivers. We saw the Steelers get handed their first loss of the season yesterday in a tight one. 27-24. So the Colts, after starting 0-2, moved to 2-2. And Anthony Richardson leaving the game with a hip injury, optimism that he can go next week. But Joe Flacco coming off the bench and just like he did in Cleveland last year, getting the job done. 16-26, 168, 2 touchdown passes. Pittman leading the way in receiving with 113 yards, over 6 catches. And then they ran the ball effectively. Jonathan Taylor, 88 yards and a touchdown. They sacked Justin Fields 4 times. Win a tight game here, a game where Pittsburgh came back, outscoring them 21-10 in the second half. Went to halftime with a 17-3 lead. But nevertheless, the Colts even out their record here at 2-2. We'll see what happens, with the health of Anthony Richardson. But what do you make of this game? I mean, obviously disappointing that the Steelers had got off to that great start.
Yeah.
The defense looked so good. But Flacco, of all people, kind of picking apart that secondary. Another grizzled vet.
I mean, I think that's what it really is at the end of the day. You said it. He did this for the Browns in the playoffs. Clearly is comfortable coming off the bench just to get right into the game. We obviously know what his NFL career is like. So, I mean, he's just a good quarterback, it seems. So I don't know, man. I mean, I'm really happy for him. If I was Indianapolis, honestly, let's start Joe, honestly.
But they're not. Though.
They're not good. I mean, no. I don't know, dude. Anthony Richardson, it's like.
But he's probably gonna get hurt again.
That's what I mean. Like, what are we doing, dude? Like,
if he doesn't want to turn it to Tua, he's got to start playing.
This is his sophomore year, correct? And he was out all year
he
last
played
year.
5 games last year.
So, I don't know, dude. Let him chill for a little bit. Why not let him sit behind Joe and like figure out how he's going to play in the NFL, because clearly his style or whatever is not working. It's getting him hurt, And if you're, second year young and you're getting a hip injury, I mean, that's not great, dude.
No, you can't just dive into piles. It's not going to work. Now, what do you make of the Steelers here? I mean, it started out pretty rough, but at the end of the day, I mean, Fields has one of the best games of his career, 22 at 34, 312, a touchdown. He was sacked 4 times, but then he had 2 rushing touchdowns and carried the ball 10 times for 55 yards. They got a big Sunday night football game next week against the Cowboys. Do you think they're gonna, Wilson looks like he's, about to be healthy, but do you think they're gonna see this through with Fields for the foreseeable, or?
Yeah, dude, I think so. They'd be really dumb if they didn't, right? I mean, like, let's go with Fields, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would just be if, for whatever reason, Fields just has a terrible game,
right?
Next week, then that would change things, I think. But
yeah, I kind of like their odds bouncing back against the Cowboys. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like Justin Fields is like a younger version of Russ Wilson at this point, right? Because he clearly
and he can run,
throw, and he can run. That's what I mean. Like back in the day when Wilson was scrambling and running well, like this is what Fields is looking like. And I don't know. I absolutely love it. Like you said, one of his best games of his career. And I think moving forward, the Steelers still have a great team. I think Najee Harris clearly had a tough time getting going out of the backfield, but I mean, look at Pickens, had over 110 yards receiving. Pat Freiermuth, solid tight end. I like that as a target. So, I mean, I don't know. I think they can bounce back next week against the Cowboys.
And, speaking of, I guess kind of bouncing back just because they lost their first 2 games of the year, the Colts here get the Jags, the Titans, and the Dolphins the next 3 weeks. So they have a chance to be competitive. It'll be interesting to see if Richardson's healthy or they take the conservative approach and maybe sit him for a game. We'll see, but definitely some interesting storylines there. The Eagles go down once again, 33-16. The Baker bounce back.
Hell yeah.
That we all anticipated here. And they just jumped out, heavy here, 14-0 first quarter. It kind of never looked back. Baker 347, 2 touchdowns. His leading receiver, Mike Evans, 8 for 94 in a score. Also found Godwin 6 for 69 yards, and Trey Palmer had a receiving touchdown. They run the ball effectively too, 111 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, one by Mayfield, one by Bucky Irving. So strong performance gets the Bucs to 3-1. And it really, just made it seem like the previous game and that loss to Denver, just kind of an abbreviation. And I think this team moving forward should be the best team in the NFC South, but we'll have an opportunity to see a couple early season litmus tests in the division here with games at Atlanta and at New Orleans coming up. But nevertheless, I think a good feeling for Tampa, especially after they beat, Philly in the playoffs last year, to go handle them again. I mean, must feel pretty good for Baker and the boys, Tony.
Yeah, dude. I mean, if I was Baker and the boys, I'd be pretty freaking riled. Baker had a great game, and I mean, they were just dismantling the Eagles, honestly, from really every facet. Hurts was sacked 6 times. Obviously, no picks or anything, but limited to only 158 yards through the air there. Obviously, Barkley is, did have okay. It was solid, like 10 carries, 84 yards. But I mean, anything else was, obviously, when he scored 16 points, defense was doing great. And I feel like the long ball was there for Baker, like freaking all day. You want to look at some of these long passes, Chris Godwin, 28, Sterling Shepard with 30-yard pass, Rashad White had a 22-yard reception. And again, those were plenty of those. I don't know what the secondary of the Eagles were doing, but I mean, Baker was slinging it downfield. And his protection was pretty solid. At any time, the pocket broke, you see him step up, move in, find someone downfield, and just like sling it, dude. Like he's looking like someone who's in complete control of his game, and really slows it down and understands like where to go, what to look for. So, I mean, you love the chemistry that's going on over there in Tampa Bay.
And then other side of things, I mean, are the Eagles in trouble? I mean, Barkley ran the ball well, but it's just, I know Hurts is, amongst the league leaders in turnovers, the last year plus, just seems like ever since that second half collapse last year, the Eagles just have not found their footing. I know they're dealing with a lot of injuries, but I mean, I guess the one thing that plays in their favor is they get the Browns, who are 1-3, and then the Giants the next 2 weeks. So a chance to bounce back, but I don't know. I just think Sirianni is the problem.
Yeah,
They
I
should
don't
have
know,
addressed this
dude.
in the offseason.
No, they should have. They addressed, it seems like, nothing in the offseason.
Other than Saquon, which was great. But it's like, gotta have a quarterback.
Exactly, dude. And I'd be very interested to see what the locker room is like, honestly, this week. But I don't know, man. I think the Eagles are in trouble here. Hurts not getting the protection he needs. Again, sacked 6 times. I believe there was a fumble in there as well, recovered by the Bucks. And then, I mean, listen, I like Dallas Goedert. He's on my fantasy team. Great for me. But for the second week in a row, like, he's leading your team in receptions and yards.
Need Brown and Smith.
You need somebody.
Yeah.
Like, you need. I understand, again, the injuries are tough, but like, it's obviously it's just really limiting the opportunities the Eagles could have on offense. And it's just like I said, you can't just rely on Goddard, your tight end, for like, it's not going to work, I don't know what's the deal with Grant Calcaterra, dude, or Paris Campbell, but I mean, they're just not getting the job done, it seems.
No. Speaking of not getting the job done, Megan Ostendorf says the Jags are frauds this year. They fall to 0-4 with a loss to the Texans, a game, in which they led. First of all, are we familiar with Megan Ostendorf?
No. Welcome to the show, Megan.
Yeah, great to have you on board.
Jags fan, you think?
You would think,
yeah.
But also it's just like, I mean, what the hell is going on in Jacksonville? And Peterson was asked after this game, about his job security, kind of gave a weird answer. But with Trevor Lawrence, losing 8 or 9 in a row, I think is it 9?
I don't know.
No, I think it is. Last 5 starts last year. First this year.
That would be 9.
You look at his numbers, very pedestrian, 169, only 18 to 33, 5 yards of completion. Did have 2 touchdowns, and they ran the ball effectively, 158 yards. But at the end of the day, they let the Texans come back here, and they didn't have a vintage game themselves. They're only averaging 18 points per game on offense this year. Stroud did have good numbers, though, yesterday, 45, 27 to 40, 2 touchdowns, and featured Nico Collins, 12 receptions for 151 in the score. Also hit Ungabole. I know that's like a drop, a bite. I mean, tough name though.
Dare Ungabole.
And then Diggs 5 for 69. You think, as Josh Allen is alluding to, you think he's getting tight about the stats despite the win here?
I fucking hope not. Honestly, that's so beat. But possibly. But I mean, what do you expect? I mean, Nico Collins is a great receiver. Like, you think you're just gonna come in here and just be the number 1 guy, get all the targets? I mean, I don't know what he thinks, but regardless, you got to be excited for Houston. I mean, you want to really break this game down. If you watched it, or even if you look at the box score, it's pretty obvious. And you said it. I mean, Trevor Lawrence's pedestrian start is really the only thing you could be like as an outlier. I mean, it's not like Lawrence was sacked 7 times and he couldn't get the ball out at all. Like, both quarterbacks had solid time. Both quarterbacks were pretty clean. Both running games were solid. Both defenses were okay, but like, obviously CJ Stroud just having the better game, which is what put the Texans on top. And it does put, I think, a question mark above Trevor Lawrence's head. If you had to guess, Brian, do you think Trevor Lawrence is an issue, or do you think it's maybe a little bit more of a coaching issue in Jacksonville?
I mean, it's everybody's got to take some type of fault, and the only thing is, we know. I mean, he has the contract already. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is going to be the last man standing here, so they better start to turn around now. Starts next week against Indy. If they don't, I mean, then Peterson, will go at some point this season.
Could you see Trevor Lawrence being a part of like a Super Bowl winning team?
I mean, obviously it doesn't point to it now, but he may just need a reset.
Right?
Maybe Dabo comes on board. Who knows?
Okay.
So that'll be interesting to see. They'll have that game with the Colts next week. The Texans will have a matchup with the Bills, which will be interesting. That's a home game, 1:00. So Allen versus Stroud. That should be a good one next week for sure. Moving along here, we saw the Bengals finally strike and get that first win of the season over the Carolina Panthers. And old friend Andy Dalton, the Bengals winning 34-24. Joe Burrow was 22 of 31, 2 touchdowns, 230 yards. And they ran the ball effectively, 141 yards on the ground as a team between Brown, Moss, and Burrow. Jamar Chase had a 63-yard touchdown, 85 yards overall. T. Higgins, 6 for 60 in his second game back from injury here. But, I think under Andy Dalton, the Panthers offense looked a lot better once again than when Bryce Young was in there. And Chuba Hubbard had 104 yards in the score as well on the ground. So a game Cincinnati was supposed to win, they win. But obviously, they're going to have to win a couple more games in a row here to even think about getting their season back on track. And they have a tough matchup at home against Baltimore next week before games against the Giants and the Browns. Nevertheless, I think for Cincinnati, good to just get off the schneid and get that W.
Yeah, I think so too. It's serviceable, I suppose. But like you said, starting off the year 0-3 is super tough. Beating the Panthers, I don't know.
You had to, obviously.
No, yeah, you have to, and it doesn't really move the needle for me that much.
Yeah.
And again, Burrow, I understand maybe Panthers. You can, I guess they have some talent on defense, but you would expect, better numbers from Burrow against a team like this.
Yeah, it was good enough, but obviously moving forward, you want more, and you're gonna need more next week against Baltimore. That's for sure.
Yeah, dude.
So on to the 4:00 window here. How about the Commanders blowing the doors down against the Cardinals, 42-14? Jaden Daniels, it's historic what he's done through his first 4 games. His completion percentage is over 80%. 26-30, 233, had a touchdown and a pick, and also had a rushing touchdown and ran for 47 yards. As a team, Washington running for 216 yards. Nichols had 2 touchdowns, 68 yards and only 8 carries. And then Brian Robinson, 21 carries for 101 yards and a score. And how about this? Olamide Zaccheaus leading the way. Another butcher job there. 6 for 85. McLaurin had a touchdown as well. And while they did allow 181 yards on the ground to the Cardinals, obviously you win a game by 28. You're not really complaining too much. I don't know about you, Tony, but I think we're seeing a star blossom before our eyes here in Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, it looks like a real franchise quarterback, dude. Efficient, confident for sure. Did have that pick, but again, looked great in the pocket. Was able to avoid some of the rushing. Was not sacked once. So Washington having a solid O-line, and it seems like the team is kind of getting behind Daniels, dude. There seems to be some type of, I don't know if you can call it culture shift, I guess.
Energy.
But yeah, energy
good
shift.
Energy.
Who was their quarterback last year?
Sam Howell.
And he was well liked, right?
He kind of got off to a good start, but then
just
threw
didn't
many picks. So many picks.
So let's go, dude. I like this story here for the Commanders. In my opinion, I'm not a Kyler Murray fan. I don't think the Cards are going to be that competitive, to be honest. Obviously, 1-3 record shows that right now. But you got to be hyped if you're a Commanders fan. It does seem like you found your quarterback, and there's a solid core here. Olamide Zaccheaus. Zaccheaus?
He used to be on Philly, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Having some targets such as him, and of course we know, Zach Ertz, also solid tight end. You got to appreciate that. I think 4 sacks for yep. Murray was sacked 4 times. Murray, man, he's another quarterback that I'm just like, I just don't know if he has really what it takes to be in the NFL.
Yeah,
you can talk about the height, whatever. There was a lot going in, when he was drafted and whatnot, but it's just seems that the work ethic is few and far between. He's got good spurts. He'll have a good game where he can really throw the ball and stuff like that. But you shouldn't be taking 4 sacks with someone as mobile as you. You got to learn how to get out of there, man.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then they have to play San Francisco next week, I think, in San Francisco. So that's a tough one for sure. And speaking of the Niners, they bounced back 30-13 over the New England Patriots here. And you look at this game for them, they get back to their bread and butter, running the football, 148 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown. Mason leading the way with 123 yards and a score. Purdy was efficient, 15-27. 288, a touchdown, did have a pick and was only sacked one time. So he gets Kittle and Debo back for this one. Kittle with 4 catches, 45 yards and a touchdown, a great touchdown catch where he leaping over the defenders. You really like to see that. That's vintage George Kittle. And this is a game that San Francisco, after a disappointing 1-2 start, simply just had to win. Going up against a journeyman Jacoby Brissett, and really a New England team, especially offensively, that just does not have any talent.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were, speaking of, maybe fraudulent teams here, I think they're kind of one of them after week 1. But I mean, what do you expect here? It's the Niners, like you said, got back to bread and butter, got back to center here, Purdy, solid, even with the injuries and whatnot. You saw some great highlights here. So, I mean, this is what's totally expected.
Yeah, McCaffrey's return around the corner. Obviously, Jordan Mason has established himself as a very good backup running back. So, I think this is going to be a scenario with San Francisco, a game against the Cardinals next week. We're going to start to see the San Francisco of old, and they've always led the league in yards after the catch. This year, they showed the graphic, they're last. So, I think that's something that's going to change as they get healthier. And at the end of the day, they're going to be just fine. Who isn't fine is the Cleveland Browns. All the money paid to Deshaun Watson, 1-3 after failing to come back against Kev's Raiders. Minshew only throwing for 130 yards, but it's enough to win. A week after Pierce calling out the team and benching veterans Devontae Adams and Max Crosby. They run for 152, 2 rushing touchdowns, one by Trey Tucker, the other by DJ Turner. So that was definitely something you didn't have in your parlay. Nevertheless, they do a good job of keeping this Cleveland offense at bay, sacking Watson 3 times, had the interception. And you only allow 1 offensive touchdown, 16 points overall. And it's just a nice win to get at home, kind of a reset here at 2-2 for the Raiders. And we'll see if Pierce can piece these things together. I just think, though, I don't see how Adams and Crosby could be okay getting benched. I mean, I know he's trying to send a message, but you wonder if that is gonna come back to bite.
Why the bench? Why?
Oh, it says actually, okay, maybe
I
that
thought
was okay. It
Adams
says
was
hamstring,
injured.
but
Okay.
I don't know if that's phantom or not. But
because I remember
somebody told me that yesterday
about the just bench for the
Benching,
attitude. I don't know. I mean, I know Adams is on my fantasy team. It did say hamstring, questionable,
It says
whatever.
ankle for Crosby. I mean, I think, maybe that was just an erroneous report.
Who told you that?
I think it was Pooch, actually.
Ah,
Not to throw him under the bus, but
it's tough
answered the
sometimes.
question.
Yeah.
But an ugly game. But I think, the Raiders, their goal this year is just to hang around, and they'll be at Denver next week. They had the surprise win over Baltimore. So, I mean, I think it's really all you could hope for. But, boy, Cleveland is a mess. And I know they'll get Nick Chubb back at some point. But it just seems like we're waiting for this Watson of old, and it's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. And I don't think having someone like Nick Chubb is again, I mean, phenomenal athlete, but he's not going to turn this team around just himself. I mean, you're going to need Watson to really show up and I guess be better. Again, very, very pedestrian. Had the 1 pick, the 1 touchdown. I mean, he's just, like you said, for the amount of money that he's getting paid. I mean, it's like highway robbery over here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see if 2-time Coach of the Year Kevin Stefanski can turn it around. And otherwise it could get late early. Matchup with Washington next week. You thought it was getting late early in this game with the Chiefs and the Chargers. Chargers jumping out to a 10-0 lead. But of course, the Chiefs finding a way here, 17-10. They are victorious. Patrick Mahomes, 245, a touchdown and a pick, sacked 3 times. Kareem Hunt, in his return to the Kansas City rushing attack, had 69 yards on 14 carries. Travis Kelce only had like 60 yards on the whole season going into this game. Featured a little more here, 7 for 89. Xavier Worthy caught a 54-yard touchdown pass from Mahomes, displaying his speed. It was Mahomes' longest touchdown pass in 3 years. So good to get that explosion into this Kansas City offense. And, I think it just 4-0. It hasn't been easy, but at the end of the day, 4-0 is 4-0, and it's yet another win over a divisional opponent in the Chargers. And we know Herbert's been banged up, but this rushing game was stifled. Herbert only threw for 179. I mean, was only sacked, twice, but at the end of the day, just not enough to beat Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, what is, Brian? It seems like nothing can ever be enough to beat Kansas City. Like you said, I'm looking at the score, on TV. I'm like, wow, 10-0 Chargers. Like, this could get early quick for them.
Late
early. Whatever, dude. But obviously, defense steps up. Huge for my fantasy points here. But, I mean, I don't know. Do you think, like, Chargers, Herbert, Harbaugh, like maybe they fumbled it a little bit?
No, I mean, it's just, listen, everybody has a tough time with the Chiefs. I mean, it's, I think, you get off to 2-0 start, you're riled up, you drop the next two, but I think it just really, if anything was fumbled, it was just Herbert playing last week in that loss to the Steelers. But the schedule eases up a little bit here. You're at the Cardinals this week, then home against the Saints, at the Browns, home for the Titans, and then home for the Bengals. So manageable games coming up. And I think Jim Harbaugh will keep this team competitive all season long.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it seems like that he does enjoy to rush and run the ball, but over 24 carries for the team, they only got 55 yards. I mean, is that more so like blocking?
The Chiefs played a good
Chiefs have solid defense. Yeah.
But we've seen Edwards and Dobbins, run the ball effectively a couple of games this year. So I think they'll be just fine. And it's just at the end of the day, a tough matchup for them.
Mm-hmm.
And, I expect them, to rebound, this week. I think in a big way, honestly, because I just think that, the Broncos, nice win, but Chargers are a better football team. I think everybody realizes that. So be interesting to see as, they get another divisional matchup. Last game of the night was really over before it started. Derrick Henry, franchise record, 87-yard touchdown there in the first quarter, first drive, first play from scrimmage for this Baltimore offense. He had 199 yards rushing last night on 24 carries. Lamar added 54 yards in a score of his own. He threw for 2 touchdowns. Bills seemingly just were never in this game. And it's amazing how quick things can change in the NFL. The Ravens was in that tight game on opening night, collapsing against the Raiders, almost blowing it against the Cowboys, but then dominating here on Sunday night and reminding everybody as to why they were the number 1 seed in the AFC last season.
Yeah, that is for sure here. I don't know, though. I mean, I'm still a little doubtful of the Ravens in the stretch of this season. I feel like we've seen this, plenty of times here. But like you said, I mean, I don't know if it was just them being at home, but like
I think that played a huge role in this game.
But they were jacked up, and that Derrick Henry run, I mean, that place was absolutely rocking.
Yeah.
Dude. So, obviously tough there. Bills maybe does come back down here because they were pretty high and mighty starting off at 3-0. But hey, I think it's one of those games for the Bills where it's like, all right, like. We've had, some holes are pointed out to us. It's early in the year. It's the Ravens, admirable opponent. Like we can fix, adjust, and get back next week. Bounce back game, winning sort of deal. We'll see them down the stretch of the year again.
Yeah, I mean, no? I think no. I think they're going to be in the playoffs, but at the same time, I think this is just a bad matchup for them. Also, listen, I mean, I always have had my reservations about Lamar throwing the ball. But I just think when we're doing a comparison of these two teams, I think just especially because of what they have on the defensive side of the ball, Ravens are just a better football team, honestly. The Bills have holes. Yes, they always have a chance with Allen, but against a tough defense in a playoff game, I don't know how many times I'm really going to be backing Allen and the Bills. You know what I mean? It just seems like they struggle against good defenses.
No, yeah. I mean, I do agree that, again, Allen in the past, the turnovers against good defense is not good. But on the other end of things, I mean, if they figured out a way to stop Derrick Henry, like that forces Lamar to throw more, maybe forces him to make mistakes more. I mean, almost 200 yards on the ground is absolutely ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's going to be a problem for maybe the entire league this year. I mean, Henry is off to a good start. 80 carries for 480 yards. So that's 6 yards per a pop, 5 touchdowns already. And I know there's a lot of tread in those tires, but I think, he stays healthy. I mean, we might look back as that being one of the best signings of the offseason.
Could be, dude. If the Bills signed me as middle linebacker, it wouldn't be, dude.
Speaking of linebackers, because I feel like this came up and I didn't mention your name, but somebody yesterday when we were watching the games was saying, like, I forgot who it was, but it might have been like our old buddy that we grew up with. But anyway, that he could tackle Derrick Henry. And that was
Get the fuck out of here, really?
Right? That was the thing.
Dude.
Okay. That was kind of at the beginning of the sports sport for me. So a little fuzzy.
That was really, what were you?
Right.
A little fuzzy, huh?
No, I'm saying it just was a long time
Bender.
ago.
Yeah.
But that was the theme. What prompted that, really?
I honestly don't recall what prompted it. It was probably Michael, like, just, I don't know, poking the bear or something. I was like, yeah, I could probably tackle him, whatever. And I still think I could. I think I will if given the opportunity.
Oh, man, that's funny, though.
What did you say to your boy who was like, I could tackle Derrick Henry? First of all, how did that come about? Just because?
Yeah, I guess just because he was
somehow
he was
brought
playing
up
last night,
Are you
a
a Bills fan?
What's that?
Is he a Bills fan? Is that why he was like,
no. It was just because Henry obviously having the good game, before we take a look at the games tonight, I was just looking kind of a tough one for us with the picks yesterday, huh?
Yeah, but I think tough one for the TCA as well.
Did they go 0-3?
I think they went 1-2.
Okay, so
did we
again, which is kind of crazy. Speaking of the TCA, Josh B saying Jets better win next week, and it's not going to be easy. So obviously we're all echoing those sentiments. But then Nathan Green, a little shot at the Chiefs here, huh?
Yeah, best players, the refs, dude.
I mean, I don't think yesterday was the refs. It was just
I don't
the
think so
Chargers
either,
not being able to score,
but,
really.
I don't know, man. I mean, say what you
Other
will.
times, yes, Tony, we get it. But I'm saying I don't think yesterday that was the case.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
No.
And tonight we got 2 football games here. One, I think this is one of those rare times with the doubleheader where we wish it was just a standalone scenario with the Seahawks and Lions. That's going to be the second game to start 45 minutes after Titans Dolphins. So Will Levis, I believe, getting the start against Tyler Huntley. So
wow,
not exactly I don't know, Manning Brady, I guess you could say.
What?
But both teams in shambles. Titans 0-3. Seems like there's some tension between starting quarterback Will Levis and his head coach Brian Callahan. The Dolphins on their 3rd starting quarterback of the season. Here we are, week 4. A lot of weapons on the outside, but can they get them the ball? Can they run the ball effectively against this Titans defense? And can they stop Tony Pollard, who has looked decent at times this year? So that'll be interesting. That's our first game. And then we mentioned Seahawks at Lions. And in that one, Detroit here, 4-point home favorites, 2-1. Seahawks are 3-0. After making the NFC Championship game last year. Lions, really high expectations this year. That's why they're expected to win this one. But I think that's going to be a classic. And the Dolphins are 2.5-point favorites in the game over the Titans. But that's one of those where, it's, for me anyway, feels like a flip of the coin. Just because it's like it comes down to, can the Dolphins throw the ball effectively, run the ball effectively? But then for the Titans, do they just get the running game going, short passing game, and able to take advantage of a, inexperienced quarterback, a guy that just was brought in? Can he get up to speed in probably a very complex Mike McDaniel offense? So we'll have to see. But what exactly happens? Let's find out in a Monday Night Football doubleheader, week 4. What do we got, Tony?
Let's freaking go, baby. Another doubleheader. We're going to Miami first. That's the first game, 7:30 p.m. ESPN, dude. Miami -2.5. The Titans 0-3, looking for their first victory. The total 37.5. Obviously, the Dolphins have not seen a win since week 1 with their starting quarterback. What do you got?
It's weird.
Nothing?
Like the music is coming through, but not you.
Are you freaking out?
Isn't that weird though?
That is really weird.
But you think like for everybody else, like you're coming through?
Yeah, I would think so.
Isn't that odd though?
That is kind of. I'll double check.
I just have music blasting in my ear. But regardless of that, looking at this game, it's so tough to say what happens. But I guess just because there's more talent on the Dolphins, despite them, playing a third-string quarterback, I think McDaniels is a smart offensive, mind here. So I think he's going to rely on good runs, run play options, because Huntley can move outside the pocket a little bit. And then the short passing game screens to Hill and Waddle. I don't think it'll be pretty, but I think they'll take advantage of going up against a pedestrian quarterback in Will Levis. Maybe the defense tries to, run up some schemes here, confuse him, disguise some coverages. So I think at the end of the day, the Dolphins will win this game. I'm going to say 17-10. So give me the Dolphins and give me the under.
Sorry. I think that's a terrible take, Brian. I think Dolphins losing Titans' first victory. What's up, dude? But I will hammer the under as well. Next game here of the doubleheader, 8:15 p.m. in Detroit, Ford Field. The Lions -4. Over-under is 46.5. Seahawks, another team surprisingly undefeated. Obviously coming off of the win against the Dolphins last week. That was decisive. Lions, what do you think, dude?
I think this is going to be a classic because I think the first game, you might start falling asleep before halftime. But this game, I think, is going to be back and forth. And I think the Lions will win, but I think it's literally going to come down to, a last-second field goal here, just because I think Seattle is good, can't be overlooked. And I know, Geno sometimes, he's got the 3 interceptions so far this year. Sometimes he can be inconsistent, so, maybe a turnover or two bites them. But I think they will move the ball, against this Detroit defense. But I think at the end of the day, place kicker Jake Bates will hit from 51 here
Wow.
for the win, and I think we're going to see some scoring in this one. So give me the over. So it's Seattle covering, but the Lions winning this game 31-28.
Absolutely love that, dude. If I had to guess, Montgomery, 300 yards in the ground. Let's go, dude. Now maybe like 210.
300 yards. That's like saying that Goff is going to throw for 600. I mean, 300, Tony. That's a
That would be a lot. If Derrick Henry can do 200, he can do 300, dude.
just like that. That is your football frenzy here on a Monday, Tony.
Playing
Wow.
Kev Do in fantasy.
This is the worst fantasy start I've ever had in my
Really?
career. Yeah, it's brutal. I think I'm going to be 1-3 in TCA. Maybe I have like 1-2-2 team, 3-0 and 2-0-4s.
Oh.
Like just a complete disaster, dude.
What the hell happened?
Just kind of like, bad luck. And then like guys get out slow starts. I'm sure they'll recover. Obviously when it's too late, just a mess. And then of
That's
course,
tough.
2 leagues. I don't know what I was thinking, but I started Rodgers over Love, and Love got like 26 more points. I could have won and this and that. But what are you going to do? Honestly, it's just on to the next one. Let's see what happens. But let's go to the world of Major League Baseball.
It's deep to left. It's 700. Albert Pujols.
Yeah, what a play! Stop it, Yep. And Alonso cracks one of the Mets win the ball game. Out of sight.
And it works at 100 miles an hour. 14 strikeout.
Drill deep to left field. There it goes. See ya.
All right. So, I mean, if everything went the way that it was supposed to, Tony, the regular season for Major League Baseball would be over. The rain last week, the doubleheader with the Mets today. So, almost, giving, game 163 vibes. I know they don't do that anymore, but that's what it feels like. So, we'll kind of focus on the Mets scenario, but obviously the Yankees, a virtue of that Guardians loss on Saturday, the number 1 seed in the American League, winning 94 games after a 6-4 victory yesterday afternoon at the stadium. So the number 1 seed, and we'll face the winner of the wild card series between the Royals and the Orioles. So that's an interesting matchup. On the other side of things in the American League, interesting matchup with the reunion of sorts. AJ Hinch back to Houston, the Tigers, the miracle run to make the postseason. So that should be an interesting one. And of course, the winner of that series faces the Cleveland Guardians. So, it was a little dicey here. I mean, to end the year for the Yankees, a 2-4 homestand. But at the end of the day, hard to really complain about the position that they put themselves in, despite the ups and downs of the year. Number 1 seed in the American League, avoiding the wild card series, avoiding Houston till potentially an ALCS rematch. But who knows? I mean, I don't know about you, Tony, but I think there is a chance here that the Tigers may pick them off. I mean, they are just scorching hot. The season that Scubal has been unbelievable. What do you think about the Tigers possibly pulling the upset there?
I don't know, dude. I mean, again,
puncher's chance.
Certainly a puncher's chance. I mean, the talent, the youth is there, the momentum. But I think that their youth may show in big games. Again, this momentum is great, but like this is where things, I feel like, for a young team that has pulled off, a little bit something, all of a sudden now the dust settles and they kind of have to like gear towards playoffs. And sometimes, these teams get a little nervous, and experience shows. I think, like you said, puncher's chance for sure, but I would anticipate the more experienced team getting the win here.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I really think these are going to be some good wild card series. I mean, how about the teams that the Yankees will match up again, whether it's Kansas City or Baltimore? But those 2 teams match together, and then the young shortstops going head to head there, Gunnar Henderson and Bobby Witt. I kind of think that might be a 3-game series.
Yeah, you think so?
Just because both teams tapered down the stretch.
Right.
So it's just like, is somebody going to really come in there, guns a-blazing, and win the first 2? I don't know. I mean, I favor the Royals, even though they really hit a tough stretch there to end the year, almost missing the playoffs. But I think they're a more complete team, better pitching.
Yeah.
And I think their offense has been more consistent second half of the season.
Second half for sure. It would be very interesting. I think, I guess, let's go 3-game series for that. I mean, it's going to be tight.
Yeah. So, it'll be interesting. But yeah, I'm so excited for the Yankees to get underway on Saturday. So some time here to rest up. The only thing that was tough Saturday, Rizzo breaking a couple fingers on his hand. Just saw this article, I guess, 14 hours ago. Long shot to play in the ALDS. So, it'd be interesting to see how they put together the roster. And obviously Rizzo had been struggling with the bat, but had played some good defense at first. So you're probably looking at a combination of Ben Rice and Oswaldo Cabrera manning down first. I guess he had mentioned Trent Grisham had taken some reps, but hadn't played a game at first base. So hard to think he would be starting at first base. So I think they should go Oswaldo. I think he can handle first base, and I like getting his bat in the lineup because it seems like, he's hit well in the postseason before, and really when he's had opportunities this year, he's gotten the job done. So that's, all you could ask for. But it's good that, they'll have their pitching rotation set with this break here, being off all week. So really excited for that. Can't wait for that first pitch on Saturday. The Mets in less than 2 hours will have first pitch today in Atlanta. Identical records. We talked about maybe an agreement here. If they split, Arizona's out. If one team wins both games, Arizona is in. How you feeling? It was a rough 3-game set in Milwaukee, only winning one of those games. But as Booney once said, his Mendoza, obviously considering him a mentor at the helm here, I mean, what do you think about the Mets going into this 2-game set today in Atlanta, season on the line? How you feeling?
I mean, obviously you're a little nervous, dude. This is huge spot, and of course, comes down to a doubleheader because of a rain delay against the Braves. So it's just like a very extenuating circumstance. It's like, oh my god, like why does it have to be really this drawn out? But I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, you're not stoked with how your weekend went. Losing 2 out of 3 against the Brewers. I think it was Saturday, maybe Friday. Alvarez sliding in the third. I don't know if you saw, it looked like he was having tremendous. It looks like he broke his back, honestly, the way he was on the ground, just like squirming.
Wow.
Ended up being fine, whatever, back spasms nonetheless. Lindor's looking good back here. You did come off of a 6-0 win yesterday, I think, or 5-0. So there was, huge bounce back on Sunday, which is great because that gives you some momentum going in today. And I do think that, again, speaking of, young and experienced teams here, you look at the Mets, a lot of the young guys they rely on, a lot of guys that haven't been in positions like this in a while that they're relying on. I think, that series against the Brewers and Atlanta, I mean, they were looking nervous. We know how game 1 ended up. And then, of course, to compound that with the uncertainty of like, what's our situation? We're getting rained out 2 games. What do we do now? Are we find a Milwaukee? What does this mean for us? Like, there were so many, I'm sure, thoughts crossing across all these guys, these players' minds. And then again, the nerves, I think, against the Brewers, 2 hits on Saturday. That is, unlike what the Mets were showing for the past couple months. So you would hope that at this point, they got Sunday's win under their belt. They understand now that it's as simple as just win 1 game here. That's their goal. So it's, it's right there, dude. So I think that everyone be focused. I don't think nerves are coming to being a factor today, but again, it's just about getting the job done here. I was mentioning a little bit about the stats of McGill last 5 starts, 5 Met wins, sub 2 ERA, looking really good. But again, I mean, that's something that we've never seen from McGill before, so it's brand new to me. So like, I'm trying to think that I can rely on those stats to be like, all right, he's going to have a great start here against the Braves. On the other side, Spencer Schwellenbach here. Speaking of great starts, he's dominated the Mets in his 2 starts against them. And he's been pretty solid other than that. For a pitcher as young as him, I mean, I'm sure that's very refreshing for the Braves. And then we know, the amount of Braves firepower and stuff in their lineup. So, I mean, ideally, you can get McGill to have a good start. I guess we can look at some of his stats in terms of how deep he's been going into these games. I think it's been like kind of few and far between. Yeah. Last time 4 innings against Philly, Washington, Toronto, both 6 innings, 4 innings against Boston, 5 1/3 against Chicago. So kind of, uneven, I suppose, in terms of how much length he could give you. Oh my God. I mean, it's just like the worst thing you want to do is like have him labor through 5 innings. It's a 1-run game. And then you're kind of forced to like try and use your bullpen to win out. And then you fucking lose game 1. You just exhausted your bullpen. Got to go to game 2 now with dude. So I don't know. I mean, I think just as many games as they do start, it will, a lot will rely on, I think, on how McGill looks in that first inning. Because he's got to be fucking dialed in. I think if he comes out and he like silences, the Braves lineup like 3 up, 3 down, I think it'll put a great attitude down for the rest of the lineup for the Mets, and I think you'll see some success. And then game 2, you can just kind of chill, I suppose. That's really what you want to look forward to.
But I mean, does Mendoza come into question here? Going with McGill? Maybe looking ahead. I mean, what do you think here? Trying to save Sevy?
Yeah, I know. I fucking hate that shit, dude. I mean, if I was like, I am a long-standing Met fan. I would probably think to myself, well, I'm looking at these numbers for McGill, and I'm like, yeah, man, like 5 great starts here.
Kind of the Minaya.
And it's like, it seems like you're getting greedy. It's like, I could save Sevy if I start McGill, and if he gives me, like, I can literally picture myself in my fantasy app doing that. I'm gonna fucking start, and then that's when your pitcher gets popped.
Well, he's a lock again.
Yeah. Dudes, which is kind of ridiculous. I think that is probably a bad move.
You never know when it's going to be up.
So I don't know, dude. The time will tell. He's the manager. He's the expert. He knows more than I. So it's tough, dude. I mean, I probably wouldn't start
McGill?
I probably wouldn't have. I probably would not have.
Because it's like you could say, they're doing the same thing, but I mean, I think we would agree Schwellenbach, a lot better pitcher than McGill.
Yeah, dude. I would say a lot better this year, and again, specifically against the Mets, he's dominated them.
And okay, so it's the Mets sweep. They go to San Diego. The Mets split. They go to Milwaukee.
Correct.
Where would you rather go?
That's a great question. I feel like Milwaukee, to be honest.
Even though
losing the 2 out of 3. Especially because I feel like then Milwaukee be like, oh, we just beat them 2 out of 3. Dude, we can handle this.
Mm-hmm. You think San Diego's dangerous is basically what you're saying, though.
Yeah, so, dude. They got some athletes over there, dude.
Yeah.
And again, like in the history of Mets San Diego in the wild card, I mean, it didn't bode out well last time we were there.
Yeah. So fascinating.
The
drama here.
Fascinating. You could give a shit. Come on.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested to see what happens.
Yeah.
Greasy bastard. Oh man. No, but like I'm predicting the Mets get in, Tony. So I mean, that's being honest. I think they will win one of these. I think just because Mets fans are meant to be tortured, though, I think they will probably lose
game
the first
one.
Game. Like in a tight one too, maybe. But then maybe like so Atlanta, they don't start Sale. The offense jumps over early. Sevy.
The agreement.
Like 6 innings, maybe 1 run. Yeah, it's basically the agreement's in place. Arizona winning the NL pennant last year, not getting that opportunity again this year. That's just kind of my thoughts. Let's see what happens. Josh B saying Tony with the 3rd place comebacks in fantasy baseball when you want to sweep the Braves and get them out of the playoffs.
I mean, would I? Yeah, but I wouldn't be like.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the priority.
I wouldn't be starting my best guys game 2 when we have to fucking fly somewhere for Tuesday, which is so shitty, dude.
Yeah.
Like, because that's so shitty.
Well, at least you get good weather regardless, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But then what that means, like, if it's a 4 o'clock game, let's say 7 o'clock, maybe 8 o'clock, showered on the plane.
Yeah.
And then if you got to go to fucking San Diego, oh, dude, like what
Kinda
the
tough.
fuck, dude? Yeah, really tough, man.
Yeah.
So that is pretty brutal. But I mean, yeah, I guess so. I'm not like this is my priority to sweep the Braves and whatever, dude. Let's just fucking win 1 game. All right, that's my priority. All right, Josh. All right, dude.
Wow. And I think just to wrap up, let's have Tony take it away in a Met full-on frenzy. The floor is yours. The game 163 field, 110 Truist Field. Take it away.
Let's freaking go, dude. All right, this is it. This is the day. Matthew Ryan, even Riley Souza will be eating their words. And I'll be eating some steak dinners for sure because the Mets are making the fucking wild card after today. You know the deal. 110. We said it. McGill, Schwellenbach. The Mets, underdogs here, obviously, in Atlanta, plus 130. And, I mean, if you're sitting here, like I said, I know, whatever, over under 7.5, by the way. So I guess expecting some marginal scoring. We know the performances the Braves have had against the Mets, some good, some not. Very interesting. Nonetheless here, I think Tyler McGill is going to absolutely show up, baby. He's had, arguably, even though his stats aren't great, one of the better years, because of injury. He's in the rotation. He was a guy who came up early on, looked good, tapered, looked bad in the minors. Oh, no. Wait, second chance right now to prove himself. He's going to be so jacked up. His brother, his family, I'm sure will be in the stands. I'm telling you right now, McGill changed man, Brian. 7 innings. 11 Ks, 2 earned runs, maybe like a 1-2 run blast, Acuna, it doesn't matter who, I don't care. Bats, maybe a little silenced here by Spencer through the first 3 innings, but 4th inning, absolute blow-up spot. We're talking multiple runs tacked on, just solid like bloop singles, getting runners on, bringing them in, dude. I say they score 5 runs in the 4th. Not one home run. All solid singles, doubles. It's Lindor. It's Alvarez. Vientos. Maybe Vientos' 4th inning 2-run shot to end the inning. And then, like, you'll see, I don't know, maybe Harrison Bader ground out to end the inning. But nonetheless, Mets take game 1, 6-2, dude. And then game 2, agreement, I suppose, Brian. No lines out for game 2. It looks like on ESPN. Nonetheless, I don't know. Maybe they'll start Ottavino out of the pen. I don't know. Probably even someone that we didn't even heard of, honestly. Regardless, I say Braves maybe get game 2. Why not? They need it. End of the day here. Mets split. They make the wild card. They're going to Milwaukee, and they're having a great freaking time, dude. Let's go Mets, baby!
And just like that, that is your Mets frenzy here on a Monday. So big day for Tony. Will they get it done? We'll find out tomorrow. And speaking of getting it done, just want to mention this on the way out. I know there's so much else going on. You don't even think about it. But the President's Cup, the U.S. dominating the international team, got tight towards the end, but they had a strong day on Sunday after a weak Friday where they actually were tied, at the end of the day. But a good weekend here to win 18.5 to 11.5. Keegan, the redemption story, not making the Ryder Cup team last year, getting named the Ryder Cup captain this year. And Captain Furyk having him in the right position. That President's Cup winning putt over Siwoo Kim to win his match 1-up and clinch the victory for the U.S. The International has not won the President's Cup since 1998, Tony. At the end of the day, what we expected to happen, but just a little surprising that it got tight, a little hairy at times.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it was the situation of the right captain, right? I mean,
it does seem like the situation of the right captain, Brian.
It's just a shame. It feels like these aren't, I mean, obviously if international hasn't won since 98,
right?
They haven't been competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously it got tight a little bit. But I guess for the U.S., they're happy with the win, and all the focus has to be on Beth Page Black next year. Thorne,
he'll be there, dude.
Our VIP tent, courtesy of Thorne.
But yeah, dude, it was fun. I was catching some highlights at the end of the day and stuff. Limited coverage I saw on TV, but still it did become competitive even after, day 1 and whatnot. Also seemed like the players were really into it, dude.
Oh yeah, they get fired up.
Tom Kim, right? I think was throwing some chirps out there.
Oh yeah.
But hey, dude, I mean that creates for good golf. These are competitors and they are playing for something. So let's go, dude. Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised.
So yeah, that does it for the President's Cup. Next 2 weeks, this week we're in Jackson, Mississippi, Sanderson Farms. Some golfers, Nick Dunlap sighting, a Ricky Fowler sighting. And then I'm really excited for next week. And I looked at the temperatures last night just to see the PGA's first event in Utah, the Black Desert Championship. So that'll be interesting to see. Desert. Actually, Captain Weir with the sponsors exemption. I was looking on the website last night.
Kidding.
So he'll be in the field for that one. And I just love mountain golf. I mean, from going to Scottsdale so many times, just the scenery that you get in the background, I think that'll be awesome. So, obviously it's the fall season, but I am excited for that event. The Sanderson Farms.
That's cool.
I mean, it's something, Dunlap, highest ranked golfer in the field right now. Let's see what happens. But an exciting time of the year, nevertheless.
Oh, yeah, dude. You said Black Desert first time in Utah for the PGA?
Next week. So Sanderson's this week, Mississippi, then we're over to Utah.
Pretty exciting for Utah. Getting a hockey team, like a PGA tournament. Look at that, dude.
Yeah. And then I know the Bermuda Butterfield Championship coming up as well. Always a treat to go there. Mexico on the schedule. So kind of going all over the place before we get the Century in January. And then before we know it, those first tee shots, Tony, Augusta National. But it has been, an exciting golf season. And it's just so interesting, like to think where we were at this time last year, where we are now, the Rahm defection after the season last time. And now it seems like, Scotty and Xander are neck and neck. Scotty seems like he has the upper hand just based on the way he finished the season. I mean, didn't have a great President's Cup, lost his match yesterday. But it seems like he's, obviously he's still world number one. But will be fascinating to see who's donning the green jacket come Augusta National first Sunday in April.
Oh my God! In September, we're talking about Augusta, dude.
Yeah. Earning for it, dude. But nevertheless, I have to say, what a great Monday show. Really appreciate everybody who tuned in and continues to comment, like, and subscribe. All of the archives of the YouTube page, Tony, Michael, Renee, and Jay, and Costume the merch at DowntimeTV.com. Want everybody to enjoy the day, enjoy the game.
Let's go, Mets.
And we will see you.
Hey guys, Tony here from Downtime TV checking in. I want to thank all our fans out there who's been liking, subscribing, sharing our content. You guys are the best. You guys are our bloodline. You make us love what we do. Thanks again.